Well,
Q Graham.
We're going to try Dave Hemstad. And we haven't had him in a while.
Nope. We're talking Masters, folks.
Yes, we certainly are talking Masters.
Patty McPatty Reid. My Ricky Fowler 76-1 didn't come in. 1 stroke. Thanks. Didn't need it.
Yeah.
Dave speak.
Dave Hemstad, Mike Richards on rawmikeRichards.com. You're live, baby. You're live.
Oh, fantastic. That puts all the pressure on right away.
Yeah, well, hey, you've played. You're in the golf scene. You know how it is. You're stepping up to that first tee box, and they go, ladies and gentlemen, from Thornhill, Canada, Dave Hemstad. They go, yeah, it's not the name.
Yeah,
yeah.
My coach at Missouri State used to say, I don't care what's going on in your life, when you step on that first tee, you better be ready to play.
Well, here's the thing, too. I'll say, Dave, I mean, look, there are a lot of derogatory comments about Pat Reid. I saw texting on Twitter. They were not flattering comments necessarily, but I will say this about Pat Reid. He's not afraid. I think a lot of people who, if they're not watching a lot of golf, may not be sure of who this guy actually is. But he's a pretty aggressive player for someone that doesn't have maybe the glitz or the notoriety that someone else is going to have going into a tournament. But he's actually a pretty good player who can win a lot and does win a lot. This obviously is his biggest win. But this by no means, Dave, is some sort of fluke or sort of a blip on the radar screen. He is that good.
Yeah, I had him in my pool.
Oh, there.
And it was an excruciating few hours yesterday, seeing if he was going to hang on with all those bandits charging at him. But no, he certainly believes in himself.
When you were watching yesterday and you saw Jordan Spieth move up the charts, Ricky moved up, Jon Rahm was pressuring, did you at all think at one time, because they were tied, did you think at one time that Patrick Reid was going to lose this?
I thought we were heading to a playoff for sure.
Yeah. I
wasn't sure if it was going to be a 2-man or a 3-man playoff, but I thought it was going to be Reid and Spieth for a minute there. And then I thought it was going to be Fowler, Reid, and Spieth at 13. And then Ricky made that great birdie on 14, so then I thought, okay, now it's going to be a 2-man playoff. Because where Reid was on 17, I didn't think he could 2-putt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not.
But then he didn't. If he didn't hit the pin, he might not have.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought, for someone like yourself that's played at a high level of golf, when you're looking at those greens. Now, I know there was some rain. I don't know what they stimped at, but were the greens necessarily? I'm not saying a lot slower, but were they a little fairer than sometimes they can be?
A touch. You could see it in the way the guys' shots were holding on the weekend and how low the scores suddenly went. I mean, once you get a little moisture on them, those guys can just really attack the flag. So it's not so much how fast they're rolling so much as it is how soft they're receiving the shot.
And of all those guys, and I think each and every week, there's 10 or 15 guys that are capable at least of winning each and every tournament. But I look at Henrik Stenson and just sort of, his build, the way he plays, the kind of game that he has, his understanding of, shaping shots. How come Stenson hasn't won more often? Because he seems to have all those I would say tangibles that usually make for, a pretty substantial golfer, and he's good, but how come he's not great?
There's a lot of guys that are pretty great. I don't know, when you think of Stenson, I don't think of him as an artist around the greens, and I think that's what you really need to be to win at Augusta. So with Stenson, I picture just this, monster straight hitting down the fairway kind of ball player, very tactical. And you need a little bit of magic to win at Augusta. And not saying he won't do it, he just hasn't so far. He actually doesn't have a great record there.
One thing that I was kind of disappointed about, because I thought there was going to be more of a charge from him, was Rory's 74 that he put up on the fourth day. Where does that rank as far as disappointment of the day?
It was number one disappointment on the day. I don't know if you watched all the coverage. I mean, right on the first tee, he stepped up and blew one into right field off the foul pole. And so the air almost went out of the balloon immediately. The only other thing I saw that was worse was on the second hole, Bubba Watson had a putt for eagle that he putted into the bunker.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those were two guys that I thought were really going to be storylines who both exited stage left almost immediately.
Well, for Bubba Watson, I mean, I don't know, was he talking to a tree or something? Like, I don't. I mean, there are times where I just he might be the most. I think if I'm looking at the tour, is he the most different cat that exists right now on the tour?
Probably, and I don't even think he needs a tree to be talking. I think he could, an empty field, he could still just be talking that way, and then he starts crying.
Well, it was a tournament that had a good finish, but I mean, I don't know how.
Well, it was an anticlimactic finish, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you've had so many. Everyone, I think, wanted a playoff. I mean, Fowler and Spieth were the heroes, so to speak. So when the villain can just two-putt for a win, it's a bit of a letdown after all that tension.
Yeah, he's not really a scary-looking villain either, especially with a giant pink golf shirt. I don't. The villain wasn't very scary, but I'll tell you what. When you got to come back from, what was it, 9 strokes, like for Spieth. I mean, again, for these guys, that's just an insane amount of ground to catch up. And in the world of golf, do you just keep getting hotter, or is it tough to maintain when you got to make up that kind of ground?
Yeah, I mean, Spieth is a really. I don't know that I've seen, save for Jack and Tiger, seen a guy who can just seem to ignore the ridiculousness of what he's trying to pull off and just continue to make perfect shots. I mean, even the ones he hit to 15 feet in the air, he's twirling the club and walking after him. Like, I think he hit every shot perfect for about 3 hours there, which is virtually impossible to do. So he seems to have another gear. If you remember the British Open last year when he had to take that drop and do that weird ruling, and all of it, then the next hole he almost hit a hole-in-one, then he made an 80-footer for eagle. I mean, that guy's got a different place he can go to on the planet in his brain.
Well, and I guess you kind of need to at times. It's interesting watching John Rahm there yesterday. I was golfing with Jeb Fink. Do you know Jeb? Do you know Jeb at all?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, he's out in Alberta still, isn't he?
Yes, he is. And he golfed with me one time. He goes, "You're amazing." I go, "Oh, thanks." He goes, No, let me finish." He said, "I've never seen anyone golf that angry before. You're swearing in your backswing. Like you haven't even hit the ball yet, and you're mad." And I look at John Rahm yesterday, and after he went in the water, it was pretty apparent that he just could not turn that switch off, and he was putting mad. Like he was just playing mad. And I think at some point we just assume that they're basically robotic when they get to that level where they can turn it off. They're not like someone like myself, but it was pretty obvious, I thought, to everybody that John just could not get that emotion kept in check.
No, and it's really hard. I'm sure he hit what looked like a beautiful shot, and in that position, you got to be expecting. You have to make birdie, absolutely have to. So when it goes into the water, I mean, your tournament's kind of over. So should he have handled that with better composure? I don't know. He's only 23 or something. I know he looks 45, but he's only 23 years old. So, when you lose the Masters and you still have to play 3 holes, kind of hard to keep the smile on for everybody.
Are you kind of surprised that we didn't really see a great tournament from Tiger Woods, considering what he brought to the table the last month leading into the Masters?
Yeah, I had him slated to play much, much better. I thought when he and Phil played the practice round together, they were kind of saying, "Okay, kids, the men are here. We're going to pull the focus from the crowd. We're going to steal this energy." And I think they would have if they could have made a birdie.
Yeah.
But the fact that Tiger didn't birdie a par 5 that first round was just, okay, well then, thanks anyway. Thanks for coming. It's so exhausting when you don't get a little boost of goodwill from the golf course. It just drains you physically. If you don't play, when you hit good shots and putts don't go in, and then your bad shots end up in horrible spots, it's really hard to stay positive. Really, really hard.
Well, when you see, and I see that they already have obviously predictions for the U.S. Open, but I don't know if necessarily, you take away from the Masters as a tournament and engage somehow with what was done there and apply it to the U.S. Open, because to me the U.S. Open always tends to be, it's its own universe depending on where they play it. I don't know if that necessarily transcends into, I don't think I'm necessarily saying Patrick Reid for the U.S. Open based on, because I don't, where's it being played this year, the U.S. Open? What course are we talking about?
I don't have it in front of me. Is it Pebble this year? Are they back to Pebble?
And that's why I think that they tend to be, at least the hard thing to me when I look at golf is those courses, because they, depending on where it is, it may favor the kind of game you play. So I don't think you necessarily say, well, this is it. Now all of a sudden Patrick Reed's going to go on a huge run. I don't think that's true.
No, but now that he's won one, I expect him to win another.
You do.
This is, again, yeah, he's not afraid, as you pointed out, right? This guy is just ready to go to battle. He's done well in the Ryder Cup, and now that he's won one of these, he's in his 20s, right? He's young, and he wants to be better than Spieth and Thomas and Ricky. He wants to be talked about. So will he win the U.S. Open? No, I'm not going to make him the favorite for that, but I think he can win one in his days for sure.
Dave, before we let you go, what's happening with you on the circuit? Are you going to be playing anywhere that people should come out and see you, or are you touring? What's going on in your life?
Yeah, I'm actually off to the Winnipeg Comedy Festival this week. I'm taping a gala for TV on Thursday, hosted by I Am Chris Jericho, who I believe is the friend of the show.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Yeah, so we're going for the laughs of Jericho. We're going to be coming out on
That's
Thursday.
fantastic. Are you going to catch any playoff games? Because they're in town on Wednesday and Friday night.
I just texted. I'm lucky enough to be friends with Kevin Cheveldayoff and Matt Hendricks. So I just reached out to both of them with a very subtle, I'll be in town Wednesday, hint, hint. With nothing to do. I don't know what you guys are up to, but I'd be free to, I don't know, watch the game or something from a great seat.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Before I let you go.
Yeah, it's the first time that they've been in the playoffs during the festival, so it's going to be a really exciting time to be in town.
Just want to throw that. We should talk about Adam Hadwin a little bit and how he played. Sometimes we don't get a chance to talk a lot about Canadian golf. For Adam Hadwin, some decent. Certainly had a great Thursday, but that maybe a lot of people have great Thursdays. Where are we saying he is in terms of Canadian golf? Is he someone that you think can? Again, it was a T24, but what did you make of his performance on the weekend?
Well, it's great because being on the leaderboard and having people watch you and look at you, at any level, especially at his point in the career, it only helps. It all helps. Just being in the hunt and having these shots be, more important than usual is a different pressure on your body. And hitting good shots under pressure only helps you in your career going forward. So I think he had a pretty solid tournament. And I liken it to comedy. When you do tough shows, every time you survive one, you get a little piece of rhino skin, right? So I think he's got a good layer of rhino skin going forward. So I could see him contending in future majors and having a great season. He might be there in the U.S. He might be there, maybe not the British, but the PGA because of this experience. So could he win a Masters in the future? Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Hey, Dave, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. We haven't talked to you in a while. Great to catch up. Have a good time in Winnipeg, and we'll talk to you when you get back.
Cheers, guys. I'll tweet you some pics from the fest.
Do that. that is Dave Hemstad, and maybe some pictures from his excellent seat.
That's
watching the Jets in the playoffs.
I didn't know he had a relationship with the Jets general manager and one of their core group.
What? We just become best friends? Yep.